Hi, my name's Millie. My mother once looked me dead in the eye and said, "Rooms just for family," then shut the door. For years, I slept in hallways, raised their kids, kept their secrets, while my sister called me the maid. I thought that was my life, until the will was opened, and everything I knew cracked wide open. Want to know what it said? This structure immediately gives an intimate self-introduction, lays out the injustice and betrayal, and ends on a cliffhanger that compels viewers to keep watching. I stood just outside the living room door, my feet sinking slightly into the carpet that hadn't changed since I was a child. The scent was the same too: dust, lemon polish, and something faintly sour, like old secrets. Everyone else was already inside. I could hear the muffled buzz of voices, the scrape of chairs being pulled back, the clink of a glass on wood. I was the only one in the hallway. Mom glanced over her shoulder, then looked right through me like I was fog on a windshield. "Rooms just for family," she said flatly, pulling the door closed before I could speak. The click of the latch wasn't loud, but it echoed in my chest. I stared at that closed door longer than I care to admit. I knew better than to expect anything else, but part of me still flinched. I let my hand trail along the wall, brushing the edge of a faded family photo. Everyone looked sun-kissed and perfect, except me. I was shoved to the side, half in frame, squinting against the sun. You'd almost miss me if you didn't look twice. This hallway, it wasn't just a place. It was the story of my life. Always standing just outside, not quite invited, never fully seen. I tried to swallow that old ache, tried to talk myself out of caring. They didn't mean it. They were just thoughtless. But that kind of lie wears thin after enough years. I leaned against the wall, trying to make sense of being here at all. I didn't even know if I was in the will. Dad hadn't said much in the end, but he'd looked at me differently that last time, like he wanted to say something and couldn't. A voice inside me whispered, "Don't hope for anything. Just get through it." But another part, smaller and stubborn, whispered back, "Maybe this time will be different." I wasn't sure which voice I hated more. A memory hit me like cold air. My 9th birthday. The cake said, "Happy birthday, Emma and Mark." Nobody noticed my name was missing. "Quiet Millie," they always called me. No one ever asked why I stopped trying to be loud. Once, when I was 13, Dad had taken me aside after dinner. "You're the only one who really listens," he said. I'd carried that like a pressed flower in my heart. But when Mom sneered at me in front of everyone, when my siblings laughed behind their wine glasses, he never stepped in. One Thanksgiving, I was elbow-deep in dishes while the rest of them laughed in the dining room. "That's your place," Mom had said. "Make yourself useful." I remember nodding, too afraid to question it. She never liked me. I reminded her too much of her mother-in-law, Dad's mother, who, from what I heard in whispers, didn't take crap from anyone. Maybe that's why I was always sandpaper to Mom's nerves. I tried. God, I tried. Straight A's, thoughtful gifts, smiles even when it hurt. They just smirked and said I was trying too hard. Like love was a game and I didn't know the rules. The door opened again. A man in a gray suit stepped out, his expression confused when he saw me. "Are you Millie?" I nodded, unsure. "There's something you need to hear," he said. I followed him in, and just like that, every eye in the room turned on me like I'd walked into the wrong funeral. "She doesn't belong here," my brother hissed. My mother's arms were folded so tight they looked fused. "What is this?" The lawyer didn't flinch. He pulled out a small, sealed envelope. "This wasn't part of the official reading," he said, handing it to me. "It's addressed only to you." I took it with shaky fingers. The room buzzed like a broken wire. I opened it slowly. Inside was a short note, handwritten, and something wrapped in tissue paper. I read it once, then again. My breath caught in my throat. He left it to me. Just one thing. A small music box, carved, worn at the edges. I held it like it might vanish. Mom's voice cut through the silence like a rusty blade. "That thing's worthless." He was losing his mind. But I wasn't listening. Not to her. The note read, "To the one who always stood quietly in the hallway, I saw you." I looked at them. My siblings. red-faced and shifting in their seats. My mother, rigid with something between rage and confusion, and for the first time, I didn't want to disappear. I didn't shrink. I didn't flinch. I was seen, I said. He remembered me. They didn't say a word. As I turned to leave, clutching the music box to my chest, Mom muttered under her breath, just loud enough. She wasn't even supposed to be born. I stopped cold. Her words landed like gravel in my gut. I didn't start the engine. I just sat there, in the dark, the car idling in silence like it was waiting on me to make sense of what I'd just heard. Her voice echoed over and over, sharp, low, bitter. She wasn't even supposed to be born. I didn't even know what she meant exactly, but it cut deeper than any of the sideways glances, the cold shoulders, the years of being told I was too quiet, too weird, too forgettable. You think you've gotten used to the ache. Then someone throws gasoline on it. I stared at the steering wheel, wondering if I'd imagined the words, if they had landed wrong in my ears. But they hadn't. My mother had said it like a fact, like she'd been holding it in too long, and finally let it slip once the fight was over, and she thought I wouldn't fight back. Had I ever been wanted in that house? Really wanted? I searched my memory, like flipping through old photos in a shoebox. There were glimpses, me bringing my dad his tea when he forgot where he left his cup, me leaving a note for Mom on the fridge that she never mentioned. A time when I got a ribbon in school and left it on the mantel, only for it to vanish the next day. None of it ever stuck. None of it mattered. The music box rested in my lap, wrapped in a scarf. I wound it just once, let it play a single round. The notes danced softly, gentle and deliberate. That was me, wasn't it? A soft tune, easy to miss. Played once and shut away. My phone buzzed. It was Eliza, my niece. "Hey," she whispered. "Are you okay?" I didn't answer right away. I saw what happened. Grandma looked mad. "I'm fine," I said, but even I didn't believe it. She paused. "I think it was really cool, though, what Grandpa did." Before I could say anything else, I heard her mother in the background, snapping at her for being on the phone. "I gotta go," she whispered, and the line went dead. I sat there for a while longer. Then I pulled a journal from my glove compartment, a leftover habit from years ago. On the first page, I wrote, "I was never supposed to be born, so why did I survive all of them?" I remembered a family meeting years ago. I was 25. Mom had called it to discuss Dad's condition, but it didn't take long for the topic to veer into lake house renovations and financials. Irene had already printed out mood boards, navy cabinets, white oak flooring. She passed them around like she was pitching HGTV. I had a notepad with charts for Dad's medication schedule. When I suggested we split up caregiving shifts, Mom barely looked up from her wine. "Leave the tough jobs to people who matter." Sean snorted. "Millie's best with plants, not people." No one objected. I left halfway through and sat in the garage, next to the recycling bins. It was the only place in the house that didn't smell like judgment. I remember crying quietly, not sobbing, just a leak from a dam I didn't know had cracks. The next morning, I was sipping coffee on the porch when Irene pulled up in her BMW like she'd taken a wrong turn and landed in a neighborhood below her standards. She didn't knock. She just walked right in. "You really think you're slick, don't you?" she said. I set my mug down. "Good morning to you, too." She didn't smile. "That letter, the box, you manipulated him." I kept my tone level. Why would he write something he didn't believe? "Because he was sick," she snapped. "That box is sentimental, not legal." I let that hang in the air. She was waiting for a fight, and I wasn't giving it. She leaned in. "You start waving that letter around, people might wonder how you got it." I looked her dead in the eye. "I didn't need to steal his love. You just never earned it." That shut her up. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Then she turned on her heels and stormed out. Not because I yelled, but because I didn't. That's what rattled her. Later that night, I went digging through an old drawer in my bedroom. A junk drawer, mostly. I was looking for nothing. I ended up finding everything. A voicemail, Saved under unknown. I hit play. Millie, you're good. You've always been good. Don't let them unmake you. His voice was soft, raspy, like it cost him something just to say those few words. I played it again. Then again, I saved it in 3 different places. I wasn't going to let it vanish like everything else he gave me. Then I opened my journal again, wrote a new list, called it What I Know for Sure. I am not an accident. I am not invisible. I am not weak. I'm just quiet. And there's a difference. I was folding laundry when I heard the mailbox clink. It was past 10 p.m. No footsteps, no engine, just one plain envelope. My name in block letters, no return address. Inside was a single photo. And it changed everything I thought I knew. I woke before dawn, uneasy that silence felt too loud. The envelope lay on my kitchen counter under the yellow glow of the lamp, untouched since I placed it there at midnight. I hadn't dared open it then. Now I moved forward, fingers trembling as I slid back its flap. Inside was a photograph, glossy and sharp. I pulled it free. 4 faces in frame. Mom, Dad, Irene, Sean, all smiling. Me, not there. The date printed faintly. July 4th, 2005. The same weekend I'd collapsed in my dorm room, calling your phone over and over, no answer. On the back, someone had scrawled, "Some memories are better left to the rightful family." The handwriting was angular, hurried, not Mom's controlled script. A cold wash of dread poured through me. Someone sent this to wound me, or warn me. Familiar, maybe. I stared at their smiles, the lake behind them shimmering. I recalled begging to join that family picnic. The car was full, they said. I stayed behind in my dorm, chest tight, phone dead. I remember turning off the lights and slipping into the hallway, trying not to cry. The fire alarm went off that night. I evacuated barefoot into the rain. No one knew I had asthma. I tucked that secret inside me too. Now, in the kitchen's pale light, I studied the photo edges, the dress Mam wore, the shape of Dad's hat. I traced a stretch of shoreline with my finger. That place I'd assumed was idealized missed moments. I remembered the cabin Dad took us once, a one-weekend getaway when I'd been left out of every conversation. I placed the photo down. I opened the just-in-case box. Old letters, drafts, wills, dusty legal papers. I laid each piece on the table like cards in a game I'd never been told I was playing. I turned on my laptop. I opened a blank document titled The Hallway Files. I typed the first line, "If you can't find your place at the table, build your own damn table." Then I set a timer, 30 minutes, not for vindication, for clarity. I worked through numbers, dates, cross-references, the photo, the date, the scrawled words. They made a pattern I couldn't ignore. Who sent that envelope? Sean? He'd pushed aside my ideas forever. Eliza, too young maybe, but surprised by what she had access to. Or someone else entirely. A ghost plan Dad scripted years ago. I eliminated what didn't match. The handwriting's slant felt masculine. Not Irene's sprawl, not Mom's careful loops. Could be a hidden ally, or someone setting me up. I rechecked the photo. It had wear in the bottom corner. That tear had been retouched. That version had been edited, altered. A soft knock at the door startled me. I stood slowly, heart tightening. No footsteps outside. The envelope lay waiting on the welcome mat. My name printed in black block letters. No return address. I picked it up with care. Inside was a single page. One word. Retract. Below it, a printed email from Irene. She coerced him into writing something she's not entitled to. Dated 2 days after the funeral. My chest burned. They weren't done yet. They said it was just a dinner, a way to close chapters, whatever that meant. But I knew better the second I stepped into that house. Same wood floors I used to scrub with vinegar water. Same chandelier that flickered even when the wiring was fine. But the smell had changed. Less like home, more like a place curated to look like one. The dining room table was laid out like a catalog spread. China with gold trim. Linen napkins folded like little swans. Crystal glasses I wasn't allowed to touch as a child. Mother, Vera, had insisted everyone dress formal. I wore black slacks and a gray sweater. No jewelry, no makeup. I wasn't performing for them. My seat was at the far corner, half a step from the kitchen door. Not exactly invisible, but not within the family circle either. I saw the way Irene and Sean sat angled in, elbows nearly touching. Mom sat at the head, chin lifted like she was posing for a portrait. No one offered me water. No one slid me silverware. I found my own from the sideboard, as I'd done before, quietly. That old dance. I greeted each one. Simple hello, nothing more, and got nothing but curt nods and clipped smiles. You could hear the air stretching between us. When Vera cleared her throat, I felt it before she spoke. That chill that sneaks down your spine when you know you're not just outnumbered, you're being led into something. She tapped her wineglass with a butter knife. Before we proceed with dinner, I'd like to review a few formalities. She placed a thick folder onto the table with both hands like she was setting down evidence. My heart beat steady, but hard. I didn't flinch. I've reviewed the estate files, she said, and I must address something that's been hanging awkwardly in the air. Your claim, Millie, through that little envelope is fraudulent. I looked her dead in the eyes. No one forged that letter. He signed it. He meant it. You manipulated your father when he was vulnerable, she said, almost rehearsed. It borders on elder abuse. You know that's not true, I said, voice still low. And your copies of the will have inconsistencies, different ink, different signature alignment. She gave a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. You're playing a dangerous game, girl. Then play fair, I replied. Let the evidence speak for itself. Then she nodded to the server, a kid I'd never seen, who walked in with a floral wreath. I knew that wreath. I made it myself. It had my handwriting on the card, except now the card read, From Irene to Mother. I stood. That wreath was mine. I left it for Dad. You switched the card. Vera tilted her head, feigning confusion. Did I? I thought it was better placed here. Seemed more appropriate. Laughter rippled down the table, soft, embarrassed chuckles. A cousin whispered, She's losing it. I held the wreath in both hands, the weight suddenly heavier. So now you get to edit my grief too? You always did get emotional over the smallest things, she said. I let the silence hang. Then I whispered, I'm the only one who knows what this meant to him. Nobody spoke. Forks clinked plates again, like nothing had happened. I stepped away, not storming off, just calmly walking into the kitchen. My hands trembled, but I didn't let them see. I sat on the stool by the counter and reached into my purse. The music box was there. I pressed the lid gently. The tune played, soft and hollow. Then I remembered the quote I'd written on my fridge back home. A line from Maya Angelou. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. I let the song finish. I walked back in. I didn't raise my voice. I'm not here to tear down this family, I said to no one in particular. I just want to be seen, that's all. They didn't nod. They didn't argue. Dinner went on, mechanical and hollow. Then, Vera raised her glass. To the Doss family legacy, she said. I paused. Doss was my last name too, but the way she said it, like I wasn't part of it, I felt something shift in me. I looked up. Voice steady. Don't assume you own my name. I woke before sunrise, haunted by that photo. The envelope had felt like a weight in my pocket all night. I couldn't shake the sense that the walls of this house, every floorboard, had ears watching me. I poured coffee, spilled some on the counter. The music box tumbled, its lid cracked open, the little tune half played, then stuttered. My hands shook. Was I ever really part of them? The question pinged back and forth in my mind. I retrieved the hallway files folder. Everything I'd gathered so far. The photo, the will drafts, old letters. I found one marked Picnic 2005. My pulse quickened. Then my phone buzzed. The family lawyer. He said, We need to talk. I closed the bedroom door, locked it softly behind me, and walked to my study. On my laptop, I opened the photo and zoomed in. There it was, That lakeside cabin, the dock, the same corner Dad had pointed out to me when I was a child. The timestamp read 2:32 p.m., July 4th, 2005. My journal from that summer lay beside me. I checked the entry. I'd been at a summer class event 4 blocks away at exactly that time. I knew I was somewhere else. Somebody had manipulated this. My throat tightened. They were attempting to rewrite my past. The lawyer entered, closing the door behind him. His face looked uneasy. There are affidavits now. Statements placing you at that meeting you denied. He slid a sheet across the table. I grabbed it, eyes scanning names, times. None made sense. Beneath the typed claims, one signature looked familiar. I looked at him. Where did that come from? He hesitated. I was told to protect the family's interests. That half-answer spoke volumes, betrayal in a suit and tie. I stood. Then you're part of this too, I said. I want every document, every draft, every copy. I want the truth. Memory flickered. I was a teenager, in that same cabin by the lake. I wandered the shore while siblings fished. As dusk settled, Dad called me in. You belong, he whispered, brushing a stray hair from my face. I stayed long after everyone left, staring at the water's reflection. I thought that was real, that moment. Later, they never mentioned it again. It had vanished like so many other parts of me. The doorbell rang. I opened the door full of dread. On the step lay a packet, no return address. I carried it inside, my heartbeat loud in my ears. I opened it. A printed page. Cabin log, 7405, 2:32 p.m., followed by names and signatures I recognized. Irene's among them. My breath froze. My stomach twisted. They had planned this long before I even knew it. The hallway outside the firm's office was cold and quiet. Too quiet. I held the folder close to my chest, fingers numb from both nerves and October wind. My lawyer from the week before walked beside me, saying little, but his presence grounded me. We entered through the thick oak doors, and the smell of old carpet and legal parchment hit me like stepping into a sealed vault. Mr. Harland, the family's longtime attorney, was already seated. He looked older than I remembered, thinner hair, heavier eyes, but guilt aged faster than grief. He rose when he saw me. Ms. Miller, he said, avoiding Millie. I appreciate you coming. I nodded, no small talk. He motioned to the table. I sat, the folder unopened in my lap. He sighed, then reached for a brown envelope from a locked drawer. His hand trembled slightly. There's something you need to see. I should have shown you earlier, but your sister insisted it was irrelevant. My stomach dropped. It's a sealed amendment to your father's will, he added, voice low. We found it in his safety deposit box, only accessible after full probate began. He broke the seal. The letter began with one line, to the one left in the hallway. I didn't breathe. Then he continued reading, every word etching deeper into me. You saw what others would not. You stayed when the house was silent. You kept it warm. What's mine is yours. My name followed. Millie L. Miller. My full name, in his handwriting. Dated, notarized, witnessed, legally binding. The room was still. My lawyer leaned back, eyes wide. Mr. Harland looked down, almost ashamed. There's no mention of Vera, he said. Not here, not once. I couldn't speak, not because I was overwhelmed, but because I finally saw it. After all the silence, here it was. Not a gift, not a handout, a truth. The door slammed. Vera. She burst into the room like a storm bottled too long. I knew you'd pull something like this, she spat, hair still perfect, tone venomous. How convenient, a sealed amendment showing up now. You must be proud. I stood up slowly, met her stare. You've erased me for years, I said, keeping my voice level. Now you're denying what he wrote? She snatched for the document. Mr. Harland pulled it back. This is still under review, she snapped. Nothing is valid until proven. Then she said it. The family name must stay pure. It hit like a slap. Not loud, just cutting. I didn't blink. Purity without inclusion is cruelty. There was a pause. Even the receptionist at the back had stopped moving. Vera scoffed, lips curling. "You'll be hearing from my attorney." Then she was gone, heels clicking with spite. I walked into the hallway after her, slower, quieter. My chest burned, but not from anger, from memory. This hallway. I'd stood here before. As a child, I used to press my ear to my parents' door, hearing voices I was never invited to join. I'd whisper, "Can I come in?" But no one ever answered. Now, I pressed my palm to the same wall. This time, I whispered, "I'm coming in." Mr. Harland called me back. "One more thing," he said, handing me a small white card. "One of the witnesses." He reached out, said he wants to speak. I turned the card over. Talmadge Rowe, an old name I hadn't heard in years, my father's friend. The man who used to bring me peanut brittle when I was sick. I hadn't seen him since the funeral. "I didn't know he was one of the witnesses," I said. "He asked to stay silent, until now." I held the card, heart steady. For the first time, I realized I might not be alone in this fight. The invitation arrived in mid-afternoon, a white card embossed with Family Show Tell, Legacy Evening. I unfolded it with steady fingers. Vera's signature was at the bottom, elegant but unreadable in motive. I reminded myself, enter calm. Don't let the past drag me under again. That evening, I drove over to the house I once called home, now feeling like a stage set. Through windows, I saw guests milling about. Lamps glowed, smiles too polished. Vera greeted me at the door, cool and composed. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly, but I heard the tension behind her voice. Inside, the living room was hushed. Family albums lay open, artifacts displayed on pedestals. The slideshow screen stood ready. Faces I barely recognized sat in muted conversation. I took my place near the edge of the room, not conspicuous, but clearly an outsider. I remembered the many dinners where I had no voice. I smoothed my hands over my skirt, steadying my resolve. When the lights dimmed, I saw it, my wreath, the one I made, on a pedestal with a plaque reading, "From Irene with Love." The cursive matched the one from the envelope. My throat constricted. I rose, voice clear. "That wreath was mine. You erased me." Vera's lips tightened. "You were never assigned it. You never claimed it." Her defense landed like a stone. I held the wreath lightly, trying not to let it shake. "If I never claim what's mine, do I cease to exist?" I asked. The room startled. From behind camera phones, flashes popped like warnings. A guest muttered, "She's losing it." I ignored them. Then the slideshow began. Photos of births, graduations, family vacations. I scanned every face. My face was absent. Every image. Silence swelled. A guest whispered, "Is she not part of the picture?" Vera smiled weakly. "We decided earlier to focus on immediate lineage." Her words dripped. I stood. "You erased me from the story you chose to tell." I clicked the remote. Slides reversed. Blanks appeared between images, frames with no names, gaps where my photos had been. Deleted. I gestured toward them. "You deliberately deleted me." Murmurs rose. Guest eyes flicked between me and Vera. I reached into my bag, pulled out the lakeside photo from the envelope. I held it high. "Do you remember me here?" I asked one by one. Irene's face went still. Sean shifted uncomfortably, a few eyes averted. I steadied myself. I quoted Frederick Douglass, "Power concedes nothing without a demand." "You will give me copies of the original albums, unedited. All records, now." I said it quietly, but with the force of years of silence behind it. Vera tried to intervene, but faltered. She stuttered, then left the room mid-sentence. The cameras clicked. The guests looked away. When the crowd dispersed, I lingered. The projector hummed in darkness. I stepped toward the digital file list on the screen, satisfaction sparking inside me. A knock at the door startled me. I opened it. No one. But there, on the welcome mat, was a USB drive. I slipped it into my pocket, Back inside, I plugged it into the laptop. Folder names revealed themselves. Original. Album unedited, 1988, 2005. My breath caught. They kept the originals. They just hid them from me. I drove back to the estate under a fading sun, the sky bruised purple. The long driveway was lined with trees that had watched me leave so many times, never once calling me back. Tonight, the house didn't look like home, but like a courthouse. The final gathering, they'd called it. Settle affairs once and for all. I parked, killed the engine, and sat still. My fingers grazed the dashboard. No shaking this time. Only resolve. Inside the grand hall, voices floated, polished and strained. Vera stood at the entrance like a hostess at a wake, her smile stretched thin. "Millie," she said, "thank you for being punctual." I walked past her without answering. The guests were a mix of siblings, neighbors, lawyers, all eyes flicking toward me and away again. I stopped near the wood paneling by the staircase and laid my hand on it. Dad used to stand right there and call us for dinner. This was where I'd slipped out unnoticed so many nights. Not tonight. Vera cleared her throat, standing tall at the center. Millie was only ever meant to maintain the property, nothing else. She lifted a paper like a sword. A codicil. You were but a caretaker in name. Her voice sliced through the room. I felt the sting, but I didn't flinch. Caretaker is a role you gave me. It never defined me. I spoke levelly, the words landing heavier than her paper. Murmurs spread across the room. Vera's eyes glinted with smugness, but her hand trembled slightly. I rose and walked to her. "May I?" I took the codicil. "I won't take a lesser name when my name is mine." I held it high. "This can't override a properly signed, witnessed will, and you know it." I mentioned the amendment, to the one left in the hallway. Dad's real words. "Forgery or not, this will be tested. Every electronic backup, every archive, public oversight." The room shifted. Chairs creaked. I saw Sean glance at the lawyer. Irene's lips parted, then shut. Vera tried to steady herself. "The family name must stay pure," she said. "Purity without inclusion is cruelty," I replied quietly. That landed. Someone gasped. I felt the music box in my bag. Dad's voice echoed in my memory. "Your name means you belong." I looked at Vera. "Don't erase me again. You won't succeed this time." My voice was steady, but carried years of locked-door nights. "You cannot silence a voice destined to speak its truth." The silence after that was deep. Even the clock on the mantel seemed to pause. Vera stared at me, not as a sister, but like a challenger finally recognized. From the back of the room, a man stepped forward. Talmadge Rowe, family friend, notary, quiet presence at every funeral. He held a folder. "I have the original album negatives. I can prove who was in those photos." He opened it, showing images, strips of negatives, unseen shots, my face at the cabin, my hand on Dad's shoulder. Proof. Vera's face drained of color. Her mouth opened, closed, no words. My heart didn't race this time. I felt the weight of years shifting. The final move had arrived. Morning light filtered through curtains I once drew myself, and I woke in the guest room at the estate with a clarity I'd never known. The world outside was quiet. Inside, nothing was quiet, except the weight in my chest settling. I lay there for a moment, thinking how far I'd come. Not for the house, not for the money, but for myself. I straightened my outfit slowly, deliberately. I thought, we don't inherit homes, we inherit legacies, and how we live with them. That voice in me had grown stronger than fear. I walked down the hallway, my footsteps echoing in the spaces where I once stood invisible. The living room was full now. Family, counsel, watchers. Vera sat rigid. Mr. Kendrick stood at the front, papers in hand. I took a seat and waited. He cleared his throat. "To the one left in the hallway, you saw what others would not. And so, what's mine, is now yours." I felt it before hearing it. The estate, the land, every original heirloom. They named them mine. Gasps filled the room. Vera slammed her notebook shut, her face pale. The amendment, the negatives, the proof they all tried to hide, everything led here. In that moment, the guilt in their eyes confirmed what I already knew. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't smile. I turned to those next to me, my siblings, Vera. I don't want revenge. I want peace. It wasn't a plea, it was a boundary. I offered them personal mementos, anything that held emotional value, before we began renovations. I walked to the front door, removed the brass staff room plate. My hands were steady as I replaced it with Millie's library. That library was Dad's dream. I reclaimed it not for ego, but as promise. 6 months later, the estate hummed with life. The house was a literacy and healing center for teens who felt abandoned, who felt erased. I launched a scholarship in Dad's name. I mentor a quiet girl with bright eyes, the kind who believes she doesn't belong. I tell her, "You don't need anyone's permission to belong here." Neighbors visited. Elders from the community who knew my father came to see what we built. A photo wall now includes all faces, flawed, beautiful, forgiven. Night fell. I locked the front door. In the lit-up garden, I paused. The air smelled like promise. I whispered into the dark. I was the one left in the hallway, and I walked right in.